If tomorrow morning you opened your banking app and felt calm, would you trust that feeling? Not excited, not scared, just steady. For most people, that kind of calm feels suspicious, like it can't possibly be real. We've been trained to believe that if money isn't stressing us out, we must be missing something. But what if the absence of panic is actually the signal? What if the quiet moments are where real financial progress hides? Let me start with a moment most people recognize. You're standing in line somewhere, maybe buying groceries or waiting to pay for fuel. The total flashes on the screen. There's a split second where your body reacts before your mind does. Shoulders tense, breath shortens, and then nothing happens. You don't need to check your balance. You don't start negotiating with yourself about what to remove. You just pay and move on. That moment is so small it's almost invisible, yet it says more about financial health than most flashy milestones ever will. We tend to measure success by numbers because numbers feel concrete. Salary figures, net worth screenshots, big round goals, but real financial stability shows up in behavior, not headlines. It reveals itself in how you respond to ordinary days, not extraordinary ones. And the irony is that many people who are genuinely doing well financially don't feel rich at all. They feel normal. Which makes it easy to miss how far they've come. Think about how most people live. Income arrives, disappears, and arrives again. Bills dictate the rhythm of the month. Any disruption feels dangerous. In that environment, money becomes something to survive, not something to design with. When that's the baseline, even small improvements can be life-changing. Yet they rarely get recognized because they don't look impressive from the outside. One of the clearest signs you're doing better than you think is that your financial life has stopped being dramatic. No constant emergencies, no recurring last-minute scrambles. Your bills don't surprise you anymore. You know roughly when money comes in and when it goes out, and the gap between the two isn't terrifying. That predictability is not boring, it's powerful. It means your financial system is starting to work for you instead of against you. Another quiet indicator is that you no longer make every decision through the lens of right now. When money is tight, the future barely exists. Everything is about making it to the next paycheck, the next week, the next bill. But when you're doing well, your time horizon stretches. You might think in terms of months, or years, or options you haven't committed to yet. The future becomes a place you can actually plan for instead of fear. There's also a subtle shift in how you talk to yourself. You stop framing everything as a sacrifice. Saving money no longer feels like punishment, it feels like choice. You might still want more freedom, more flexibility, more margin, but you're no longer in a constant state of deprivation. That mental shift is crucial because wealth isn't built by force, it's built by alignment. Here's something most people overlook. When you're doing well financially, you start saying no more often. Not because you can't afford things, but because you don't want them. You don't chase every upgrade. You don't feel pressure to match other people's lifestyles. You recognize that every yes costs you something, even if it doesn't cost money, time, energy, attention. Being able to decline without guilt is a sign of strength, not lack. Notice how your relationship with problems changes. A broken device, a sudden repair, an unexpected expense. These things still happen. They're still annoying, but they don't hijack your entire month. You don't spiral, you adjust. That resilience is what financial progress looks like in practice. It's not about avoiding setbacks. It's about absorbing them without losing control. Another sign you're ahead is that money stops being your primary identity. You don't define yourself by how broke or busy you are. You don't need to perform struggle to feel relatable. When finances stabilize, space opens up for other parts of life to matter again. Health, relationships, curiosity, rest. These things often return quietly, without announcement. There's also the way you make purchases. You don't default to the cheapest option out of fear, and you don't default to the most expensive option out of ego. You decide based on value. That ability to choose deliberately is rare, and it only shows up when there's enough margin in your life to think clearly. Pay attention to how often you check your accounts. When money is chaotic, people either obsessively refresh or avoid looking altogether. When things are stable, checking becomes neutral, informational, almost boring. That emotional neutrality around numbers is a strong indicator that your finances are under control. Another overlooked signal is that you can imagine change without panic. Changing jobs, taking time off, learning something new, moving cities. You may not do these things immediately, but the fact that you can consider them without everything collapsing in your mind means your financial foundation is stronger than you think. Freedom begins as the ability to imagine alternatives. You might also notice that you're no longer chasing quick wins. You're less interested in shortcuts, hacks, or overnight success stories. You understand that sustainable progress is slower, quieter, and far more reliable. That patience isn't accidental. It's built on having enough stability to wait. Think about social situations. When you're financially strained, even simple plans come with mental math. When you're doing well, you participate more naturally. Not extravagantly, just comfortably. You're present instead of calculating. That presence changes how life feels day to day. Another sign is how you react to financial news. Market swings don't dictate your mood. Headlines don't trigger immediate action. You've learned to separate noise from relevance. That emotional distance protects you from making decisions driven by fear or excitement rather than logic. You may also notice that your goals have shifted. Instead of focusing solely on earning more, you think about using money better, structuring it, aligning it with how you want to live. That's a critical transition. Income matters, but design matters more. When you're doing well, you start thinking in systems instead of outcomes. Budgets become tools, not restrictions. Savings become buffers, not trophies. Investing becomes a process, not a gamble. This systems mindset is what allows progress to compound quietly over time. Another subtle sign is generosity without self-sabotage. You can help when you choose to, without putting yourself at risk. You don't give out of guilt or pressure. You give out of capacity. That distinction matters more than most people realize. You also become more honest with yourself. You don't need to justify every decision. You don't need to hide mistakes. You can acknowledge trade-offs without shame. That honesty creates learning instead of cycles of regret. Here's something important. Doing well financially doesn't mean you're done. It doesn't mean you've reached some final state. It means you've built enough stability to think clearly, act intentionally, and adjust when needed. It's a platform, not a finish line. Many people miss this because they're waiting for a dramatic moment when everything feels solved. That moment rarely comes. What comes instead is a gradual quieting of urgency, a reduction in financial noise, a sense that life is no longer constantly asking you to react. If you recognize even a few of these signs in your own life, that's not an accident. It means something is working. It means habits are forming. It means your relationship with money is maturing. And here's the most important shift of all. When you're truly doing well financially, money stops being the point. It becomes support, background, infrastructure. The goal was never to feel rich. The goal was to feel free enough to focus on what actually matters to you. So if you don't feel like a success story, that's okay. Most real progress doesn't feel impressive from the inside. It feels stable. It feels manageable. It feels calm. And in a world where financial chaos is normal, calm is not a small achievement. It's proof that you're moving in the right direction, even if no one else can see it yet.